Most men think women fall for the guy who talks smooth, buys gifts, or says all the right things. They don't. The truth is, she's not turned on by your effort. She's turned on by your energy. And most guys give theirs away too easily. They overshare, they chase, they try to prove something without even realizing they're doing it. But women, they're wired differently. They're not moved by logic. They're moved by what they feel in your presence. That's why in this video I'm going to show you the 10 invisible triggers that spark something deeper than attention. They awaken desire. And no, this isn't about tricks. This is about the mindset, presence, and boundaries that make a woman respect you, crave you, and remember you even when you say nothing at all. So if you've ever had a woman lose interest for no clear reason, if you've ever felt like she liked you at first but something faded, or if you're tired of trying too hard for women who treat you like a backup plan, you need to watch this video. Because the man who understands these triggers, he doesn't chase attraction, he commands it. And if that's the energy you want, then subscribe now. Because this channel is for men who don't just want attention, they want respect. Let's get into it. Number 1. Her obsession with a man who doesn't need her. Here's the hard truth most guys never hear. The more you need her, the less she feels you, but the less you chase, the more she leans in. It sounds backward. It goes against every love song, every rom-com, every piece of advice from people who don't understand female psychology. But I promise you, her obsession starts where your need ends. Let's break it down. When you show up with hunger in your eyes like you're waiting to be chosen, when your energy says, please pick me, please validate me, please see me, you become emotionally heavy. You start radiating pressure. And pressure doesn't turn her on, it shuts her down. Now flip that. Think about the guy who's grounded, the man who's present, calm, slow to react. He listens but doesn't overshare. He enjoys her but doesn't chase her. He's not rude, he's not cold, he's just centered. And she feels that. She feels that this man has a life, that he wakes up with purpose, that he's not scrolling for female attention, that if she walks away, he doesn't fall apart. That kind of energy doesn't just earn her respect, it haunts her, because she can't own him, she can't label him, she can't figure out what makes him tick. And that mystery, that sense that she's not needed, that's what makes her want to earn his attention. Now don't get it twisted, this doesn't mean you act disinterested. This isn't about being cold or distant or unavailable. This is about having inner abundance. It's about having so much going on in your life, mentally, physically, emotionally, that her presence is welcome but not necessary. A man who doesn't need her isn't trying to win her over. He's evaluating, he's observing, he's asking himself, does she even align with the direction I'm going? That's power. Because most guys flip that script. They go into every interaction trying to impress, trying to earn affection. But in doing that, they hand over the frame. They become followers, not leaders. And here's the thing, women don't want to lead emotionally. They want to relax into a man who's sure of himself. And you can't be sure of yourself if you're constantly trying to prove your worth. Let me give you an example. 2 guys walk into her life. One is texting her every morning, constantly asking how she feels, showering her with compliments. He thinks consistency will win her over. The other guy checks in, but he's clearly moving. He's clearly building. He's not reactive. He's not constantly available. But when he does speak, it's felt. Guess which guy stays in her mind longer? It's always the man whose energy says, "You're not the prize I am." Because women want to feel chosen, yes, but they also want to feel they've earned it. And you can't give her that feeling if you hand yourself over too fast, too easy, too desperately. The Stoics had this down centuries ago. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." In modern terms, your emotional wealth is measured by how little you crave validation. So, if you're out here making her your mission, If you're bending your schedule, your values, your emotions to keep her close, that's not strength, that's scarcity. Instead, flip it. Let her feel that you're already full. Let her feel that your life has weight, direction, structure. Let her want to be part of that, not because you begged, but because your presence offered more than her attention ever could. And if you've ever lost a woman by giving too much too soon, drop this in the comments. I don't beg, because when you stop needing her, that's when she starts wanting you. Number 2. How your eyes can undress her mind. Let's get one thing straight. Your eyes say more than your mouth ever could. And when you know how to use them, you can trigger a woman's imagination without touching her, without saying a word, without making a single move. See, most men try to seduce with compliments, with pickup lines, with flashy presence. But a man who understands the power of his gaze, he doesn't reach, he pulls. There's a difference. Women are more intuitive than you think. They don't just listen to what you say, they feel what you hold behind your eyes. Your stare carries a message. It can say, I want you. It can say, I need you. But when it's grounded, when your stare says, I see through you, that's when it undresses her mind. Because now she's wondering, what does he see in me that I'm not showing? What's behind that calm stare? Why do I suddenly feel exposed and drawn in? The eyes don't just observe, they penetrate. But here's the key most men miss. It's not just eye contact. It's eye contact with intention. You can't fake this. You can't stare at her like a robot and expect her to melt. You can't use your eyes like a trick. She'll sense it. But when your gaze is steady, slow, and quiet, when you're not scanning her body but holding her energy, she feels it differently. It's not predatory. It's primal. It's the stare of a man who doesn't need her attention to feel whole. It's the stare of a man who's seen things, who carries something behind his eyes. Something still, something powerful, something unspoken. That stare doesn't ask for approval. It doesn't try to charm. It invites. And women are wired to respond to invitation, not demand, not performance, just presence. Let me paint the picture. You're at a cafe. She walks in. Most guys glance, then look away. Or they stare too long nervously, hoping she'll notice. You look once. You hold her eyes for just a second, longer than expected. Not with a smile, not with a smirk. Just calm, steady presence, like you're already sure of yourself. And then you go back to your coffee. She'll feel it. That flash of tension, that spark of curiosity. Because in that one glance you didn't say, I want you. You said, I see you, and I don't need to chase you. That's a different kind of confidence, and it's rare. Now, Stoicism ties in perfectly here. The Stoics believed in composure, in stillness, in full command of your faculties, especially in how you see the world. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Your eyes, they reflect your thoughts. If you're anxious, needy, reactive, she'll see it. If you're grounded, calm, intentional, she'll feel it. So before you try to seduce with your gaze, ask yourself, what's actually happening behind your eyes? Because you can't hide it. And that's the point. You don't need game, you need gravity. The man who can hold her gaze without flinching, without overstepping, without blinking first, he's saying everything without saying a word. So stop trying to impress her with clever lines. Start mastering the art of being fully present, fully still, and fully observant. She doesn't want to feel stared at. She wants to feel seen. And when she does, she starts wondering who you really are, what you're made of, and why your presence lingers long after you've left the room. If you've ever locked eyes with a woman and felt that spark but backed down before it burned, drop this in the comments. My eyes speak louder. Because when your eyes are calm and your energy is whole, you don't chase her body. You awaken her mind. Number 3, the power of not filling the silence. You know what most men fear more than rejection? Silence. They're terrified of the pause, the stillness, the moment when no one says anything, so they rush to fill it. They blurt out jokes, over-explain themselves, or talk just to keep the air comfortable. But here's the thing, comfort doesn't create tension, and without tension there's no attraction. Silence, when owned properly, is not awkward. It's magnetic. Because when you're calm in the quiet, it shows you're comfortable with yourself. You're not performing. You're not adjusting your energy to make her feel something. You're just being. And women can feel that. Let me give you a scenario. You're on a date. Things are going well. She says something vulnerable. You feel the need to jump in, validate her, reassure her, or share something deep too. But what if you didn't? What if you just looked at her, held the space, and let her words land? That silence. It says more than any compliment. It says, you're safe to be real. It says, I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to see you. And more importantly, it shows you don't fear the void. That's what masculine energy feels like, grounded, calm, and full without noise. Now flip that. When a guy nervously talks through every second, when he fills silence like it's a pothole, it signals something else. Insecurity, anxiety, neediness. And while he might think he's being engaging or charming, she feels the tension underneath. She senses the restlessness, and it pushes her away even if she can't explain why. Women want to feel your presence more than hear your words, especially in the moments where nothing needs to be said. Silence becomes a mirror, and if you can sit in that mirror without flinching, without grasping, without reaching for approval, you separate yourself from 99% of other men. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." But modern men forgot how to listen. They think connection means constant communication, but real connection, it happens in the spaces between your words. Because that's when she feels your steadiness. That's when she starts wondering, what is he thinking about? Why isn't he rushing to fill this space? What kind of man is just this composed? And that curiosity, it's electric. Now, I'm not saying you should be a mute. This isn't about being cold or aloof. It's about not interrupting your own gravity just to avoid discomfort. If you've ever watched a truly confident man in conversation, you'll notice something. He speaks slowly. He's okay with long pauses. He chooses his words, and sometimes he just doesn't respond right away. That's power. Not because he's trying to seem cool, but because he's actually at peace in himself. Silence makes your words carry more weight. It gives her space to open up. It creates an atmosphere where intimacy can build naturally, not from pressure, but from presence. And if you want to go even deeper, silence creates contrast. When you don't speak constantly, she leans in more. When you do, she pays attention. Because now your voice isn't background noise, it's a signal. If you've ever had a moment where you just looked at her, didn't say a thing, and saw her entire body shift, that wasn't your charm, that was your control over silence. And if that hasn't happened yet, it will. But only when you stop filling space just to feel safe. So here's your reminder. Don't rush to fix the quiet. Don't fear the pause. Let it hang. Let her feel the tension. Let her wonder what's going on in your head and why you're not rushing to share it. And if you've ever ruined a moment by talking too much, drop this in the comments. I let silence speak for me. Because the more comfortable you are in the stillness, the louder your presence becomes. Number 4. Why she falls harder for men who don't overshare. Let me say something that might go against what you've heard. Being an open book doesn't make you more attractive. In fact, for a lot of women, it does the opposite. Now, before you jump in with, "But I thought communication was key," hear me out. Communication is important, but oversharing isn't communication. It's self-disclosure without calibration. It's pouring out your history, your insecurities, your day-to-day emotions without her ever earning that space. And to a woman that doesn't say, "I trust you," It says, I need you to validate me. That's not masculine energy. That's emotional weight. You want to know what makes a woman lean in? It's not knowing every detail of your life. It's wondering what's behind the parts you haven't said yet. Because the truth is, women fall for what they can't fully access. Mystery creates tension, and tension creates desire. Think about it. How many times have you seen a woman obsess over a guy who barely talks about himself? He's calm. He listens more than he speaks. He gives little pieces, but never everything. That guy sticks in her mind, not because he's playing games, but because he's not emotionally naked from day one. He understands this trust is earned. Intimacy is built. Privacy is power. When you overshare too early, you strip away all the intrigue. You stop being the man she wants to figure out and become the guy she already understands too well too soon. Now, don't confuse this with emotional repression. We're not talking about hiding your feelings like a robot. We're talking about discernment, about giving her access in layers, not in a flood. She doesn't need to hear your childhood trauma in the first week. She doesn't need to know your biggest fears before she's even shown she can hold space for them. And she definitely doesn't need daily updates on your emotional highs and lows. What she wants is to feel your center, to sense that you've got depth without having to see the whole ocean at once. A man who doesn't overshare signals strength. He's selective. He knows that his thoughts, his emotions, his story, they're valuable. And they're not for everyone. That kind of emotional control, that's what draws her in deeper. Because now, every moment you open up means something. It lands, it matters, it's rare. And here's where Stoicism ties in perfectly. The Stoics believed in self-control, in inner mastery. Seneca said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." The same applies emotionally. If you can't sit with your feelings without dumping them on someone else, you haven't proven anything. You don't have to bleed out just to connect. Sometimes silence, restraint, and patience say far more than spilling everything too soon. Let her earn it. Let her ask. Let her wonder. Let her notice that you're not like the others, always talking, always venting, always explaining. You're grounded, and you'll share, but only with those who show they can handle your truth, not just your stories. That kind of discipline doesn't push her away. It draws her in, because she knows there's more behind your eyes than what you've said so far. And if you've ever felt like being too emotionally available too soon made her lose interest, drop this in the comments. I let her earn the layers. Now, if you're still watching and this is hitting something real, subscribe to the channel. No fluff, no noise, just solid truth to help you grow as a man with edge, with calm, with purpose. And if you're ready to take this deeper beyond just content and into real transformation, join the Stoic Brotherhood. Inside, we go further. Mindset, discipline, relationships, clarity, no BS. Just grounded men pushing forward together. Click it now before life pulls you into more distractions. See you in the next part. Number 5. When she tests you and you don't flinch. Here's something most men don't realize. Every high-value woman will test you, not because she wants to hurt you, not because she's toxic, but because her biology is wired to filter weakness from strength, and how you handle those moments, it says everything about the man you are. Now let's be clear, a test isn't always a dramatic scene. Sometimes it's subtle. She might throw a sarcastic jab at your ego. She might pull back emotionally just to see how you respond. She might even flirt with uncertainty just to feel your energy. It's not manipulation, it's instinct. Women don't test because they want to disrespect you. They test because they want to feel your stability. They want to feel that when the room gets shaky, you don't. Because that calm, grounded energy, it gives her something to lean on. And if you flinch, if you get defensive, reactive, or overly emotional, she doesn't feel safe. She feels like she's leading. And no woman wants to lead the emotional rhythm with a man. She wants to feel your steadiness. Let me give you an example, she says. You're not that type I usually go for. That's a test. Most guys would scramble. Wait, really? What do you mean? Who do you go for? Wrong move. A grounded man, he laughs. Shrugs, says, good. I'm not here to fit a type. Boom. That moment right there, that tells her you're not performing. You're not begging for approval. You're being. And being is more powerful than trying. See, a test is never about what she says. It's about what your response tells her. Do you react like a boy who needs to be chosen, or a man who's already chosen himself? The Stoics had a word for this, apatheia. It doesn't mean apathy. It means freedom from uncontrolled emotion. When Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength," he was talking about exactly this moment. She brings the chaos, you bring the calm. And when she feels that calm isn't an act, but your actual state, something shifts. Now she's not leading, she's drawn in. She may never admit it out loud, she may even keep testing, but deep down she's thinking, this one's different. This one doesn't fold. Because when you don't flinch, you're not just passing her test, you're showing her. You've passed your own. Your fear of rejection handled, your insecurity not in control, your emotional frame locked in. And that's rare. Most guys flinch, they over-explain, they try to win her back in the middle of the moment. And every time they do, they shrink in her eyes. But you see the test. You hold the line, you respond, not react. And maybe most importantly, you smile. Because when you really understand how attraction works, her tests stop being threats. They become opportunities. Opportunities to show her that you don't shift just because she does. Opportunities to show her you're not afraid of tension, you use it. And if you've ever overreacted to a test and watched her go cold, drop this in the comments. Next time I hold the line. Because the man who doesn't flinch, he's the one she respects and the one she remembers. Number 6. Let her chase your mystery, not your attention. You know what kills attraction faster than anything? Being too available. But not just with your time, with your thoughts, your stories, your energy. A lot of guys think women want constant attention. That if they don't message enough, compliment enough, or validate enough, she'll lose interest. But here's the paradox. It's not your attention that makes you desirable. It's the part of you she doesn't fully understand yet. It's the mystery, the unknown, the unspoken, the things you're not putting on display 24/7. Because here's the truth, what's easily accessible becomes easily dismissed. Think about it. When you're always texting her, always explaining yourself, always reacting to every post, every move she makes, you're not being engaged. You're being predictable. And predictable is boring. Women don't obsess over what they fully have. They obsess over what they're still trying to figure out. That's the game most guys never learn to play. They think the key to attraction is showing her more, but the key is actually holding more back strategically. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about being hard to read in a way that's real. Because when you lead with mystery, you engage her imagination, and imagination is where real desire lives. Let's make it real. There's a guy who messages her every morning, tells her everything he's doing constantly, asks how she's feeling. Then there's a guy who shows up when it counts. He says little, but it hits deep. He doesn't overshare, but when he does open up, it's earned. Which one lingers in her mind every single time? It's the one who didn't offer himself completely on a silver platter. Because he gave her space to wonder, and wondering is powerful. Mystery isn't silence. Mystery is selective expression. It's not about ghosting her. It's about letting her feel that you've got a life, a mission, a focus that doesn't revolve around being constantly available. That's magnetic. Why? Because now your attention isn't just a habit, it's a reward. Now when you reply, it means something. Now when you compliment her, it lands. Now when you show up, she feels it because she's not used to having you all the time. And the less you give away up front, the more space you leave for her to engage. You become the question mark, not the exclamation point. And that question mark, that what's really going on in his head, that's where her curiosity turns into emotional investment. Let me hit you with something from the Stoics. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe." When you're in harmony with yourself, you don't need to shout to be seen. You don't need to chase to be valued. You hold space. You build mystery by having a life that requires boundaries. You make her earn access not by being difficult, but by being disciplined. And if you're wondering, what if she loses interest because I'm not giving her constant attention? Then she wasn't really interested in you, just in the validation. The right woman doesn't chase the loudest man. She chases the one she can't quite figure out. So let her lean in, let her wonder what drives you. Let her feel the gaps in conversation, not as rejection, but as invitation. Because when you stop offering your attention on demand, she starts chasing your mystery instead. And that chase, that's what sticks. If you've ever given too much and felt her energy slip away, drop this in the comments. I let mystery do the talking. Because the man who's confident enough to hold back is the man she'll want to draw closer to. Number 7. Her body listens to your calm more than your words. Let's be honest. Most men try to impress women with what they say. Lines, compliments, game. They think the right words will unlock attraction. But here's a truth most never realize. Her body isn't listening to your words. It's listening to your energy and your calm presence. It's more seductive than anything clever you could say. Why? Because calm is rare. Calm is power. Calm tells her body, this man is in control of himself, and the world doesn't shake him, and that turns something on in her that logic can't touch. See, when you walk into a room with tension, with nervous energy, with that need to impress, she feels it. She might not say anything, she might even smile, but her nervous system is already making decisions. Because attraction isn't built in the mind, it's felt in the body. And when a man enters a space with stillness, presence, and no urgency to perform, her body picks that up before her brain does. It's primal. Back when danger was physical, when predators could be anywhere, the man who stayed calm under pressure was the safest man to be near. Not the loudest, not the funniest, the stillest. And that evolutionary wiring is still alive in her. It's why she might not be able to explain why she's drawn to you, but she'll say things like, I don't know, there's something about you, or I feel really relaxed when I'm around you, or even better, you make me feel safe. That's not your charm, that's your nervous system talking to hers. And when yours is grounded, steady, unbothered, hers can relax. And that relaxation, that's when her guard drops. That's when attraction moves from surface level to visceral. Because now she's not just interested, she's drawn in. Let me paint you a scene. You're sitting with her. She's talking, maybe even venting. And instead of interrupting, fixing, or reacting, you just listen. No rush. No need to say the right thing. You just breathe. Keep your posture relaxed, eyes steady. She feels that. And without realizing it, her body softens. Her voice slows down. Her legs uncross. Her shoulders drop. That's not coincidence. That's chemistry, real chemistry. Not built on words, but on how you hold space. Stoicism nails this concept perfectly. The Stoics didn't speak much, but when they did, their words carried weight. Why? Because they spoke from calm, not from ego. Marcus Aurelius said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." When your soul is quiet, your presence becomes magnetic. It's the difference between trying to look confident and actually being unshakable. And women can tell the difference instantly, because again, her body isn't listening to your pitch. It's scanning your presence. So next time you're with a woman, ask yourself, am I talking to fill space? or am I holding space with calm? And here's the part most guys miss. Your calm is not passive, it's not weak, it's not silent submission. It's active composure. It's you breathing deeper when she escalates. It's you smiling slightly when she throws a test. It's you staying centered when the moment gets intense. That calm is contagious. And when she catches it, she leans in physically, emotionally, psychologically. If you've ever seen a woman slowly let her guard down just by how you carried yourself, drop this in the comments. She feels my calm. Because once you realize you don't have to talk her into attraction, you just have to be the presence her body can rest in. You stop trying to impress. And you start embodying what most men never master. Number 8. What happens when your purpose is louder than your desire? There's a kind of man women don't just like, they respect. They don't just want him for a night. They remember him. He's not loud. He's not always chasing. He's not trying to prove anything. He's the man whose purpose speaks louder than his desire. Let's break that down. Most guys operate backwards. They make women the center of the equation. They chase affection, attention, validation. They ask, how do I get her to like me? But the moment that becomes your focus, you lose your edge. Desire is natural. But when it runs your life, it controls your energy. And women can feel that. They know when a man is living to impress them. And when a man is already impressing himself by staying true to his mission. Here's the paradox. The man who doesn't make women the center of his life is the one they most want to be part of. Because women don't fall for men who chase them. They fall for men who are already going somewhere. Think of your favorite action hero, philosopher, warrior. They all have one thing in common: they don't pause their mission for a maybe. When your purpose is your compass, you don't fold when she texts late. You don't cancel your plans because she's finally free. You don't stop building because she gave you attention. You keep going, not to spite her, but because you've already chosen something bigger than her approval. And here's what that creates: weight, depth, polarity. When she looks at you and sees that your attention is earned, not given just because she's attractive, it activates something primal. She sees a man she can't control, and that makes you irresistible. Because every woman wants to feel pulled into a man's gravity, not a man orbiting around hers. Your purpose makes your world magnetic. It draws the right kind of people in without you having to reach. Now don't get this twisted. This isn't about being cold or indifferent. It's about alignment. If your values are clear, if your path is real, if your vision pulls you forward, you simply don't have time to cling. Desire will always be there, but it doesn't make the decisions anymore. Your purpose does. And when you live like that, something amazing happens. You stop asking, what do women want? And you start asking, what kind of man am I becoming? That's where power lives. When she sees that she's not the goal but the bonus to your already purposeful life, she feels both safe and challenged. She's not responsible for your identity, she's invited into it. That's rare. The Stoics lived by this. Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. You don't attract by explaining, you attract by embodying. And the more grounded you are in your purpose, the more her body, mind, and soul respond to your presence without you chasing anything. Let me give it to you straight. Your goals are not the obstacle to attraction. They're the fuel. Because when she senses that your attention comes from overflow, not need, from a man who's building, not begging, everything about you becomes more attractive. So, if you've ever dropped your mission for a maybe, only to feel empty later, drop this in the comments. Purpose first always. Because when your purpose is louder than your desire, you don't just change how women see you, you change how you see yourself. And that's the kind of shift that sticks. Number 9. Why feminine energy surrenders to emotional discipline. Here's a truth that separates men who constantly get tested, ghosted, and confused. From the men, women naturally gravitate toward respect and want to submit to feminine energy, only surrenders to emotional discipline. Not charm, not words, not how much you care, but your ability to stay composed when emotions run high, hers and yours. Now, let's break that down. Feminine energy thrives in emotion. It moves like a wave, intense, fluid, unpredictable. Sometimes she's affectionate, other times distant. Sometimes she's playful, sometimes testing. Sometimes she needs connection, and minutes later she pulls away. And here's the part that most men don't understand. She's not looking for you to match her energy. She's looking to see if yours can hold hers. The more emotionally reactive you are, the more she feels like she has to lead. And that kills polarity. Because polarity needs tension. It needs contrast. And when you, as the masculine energy, drop into emotional chaos, you dissolve that contrast. You become like her. You get triggered, escalate, over-explain, argue. And at that point, she's no longer drawn to you. She's emotionally parenting you. But when you remain centered, when you can feel everything and still choose how you respond, that's when her feminine energy finally lets go. Because now she feels it. You're not a boy looking for comfort. You're a man who provides containment. And containment is what makes a woman feel free to soften. Not because you're cold, but because your warmth comes with strength behind it. Let's take a scenario. She says something sharp, something that feels like a challenge, a test. Most men get defensive. They argue, correct, or shut down. But you pause, you smile, you say, "I hear you." And then you choose how to proceed, not reactively but intentionally. That's emotional discipline. And that small moment, that pause, that breath, that's where she feels the shift. Because now she knows. She can move in her full expression, and you won't collapse. You're not stone cold, you're solid. And solid men are rare. Now here's the Stoic side of it. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That's the foundation of emotional discipline. You might feel frustration, attraction, excitement, even anger. But you don't let those feelings run the show. You choose your posture, you lead with awareness. And from that place you stay in control, not of her, but of yourself. And feminine energy can't help but lean into that. Why? Because when she senses that your emotional state doesn't depend on her behavior, she stops testing. She starts relaxing. She opens up. You become the container she can pour into. And that to the feminine is irresistible. It's not dominance by force. It's leadership by calm. And in the moments where she's spiraling, emotionally overwhelmed, uncertain, or even confrontational, your ability to stay regulated becomes your most attractive trait, not because you're emotionally numb, but because you've mastered response over reaction. If you've ever lost a woman because you lost your cool or tried too hard to prove a point, drop this in the comments. I lead with calm. Because once you understand how powerful it is to stay centered in chaos, you'll stop chasing control and start embodying true masculine leadership and feminine energy. It doesn't resist that. It surrenders to it. Willingly, naturally, entirely. Number 10. She opens up when you don't try to unlock her. Here's something that will flip how you approach women, and it might sting a little at first. The more you try to understand her, the more she pulls away. Not because she doesn't want to connect, not because she's playing games, but because real connection doesn't come from you prying her open. It comes from her feeling safe enough to open herself. That's the difference between most guys and the rare man she opens up for. See, a lot of men think, if I ask enough questions, dig into her past, show how curious and caring I am, she'll feel safe and connected. But here's the catch. If your energy says, I need to get in emotionally, mentally, sexually, she can feel that. And instead of leaning in, she guards up. Because your attention feels like pressure, not presence. And feminine energy does not respond well to pressure. It responds to space. So here's the shift. You stop trying to read her. And you start being the kind of man she wants to be read by, not through effort, through embodiment. When she feels that you're not there to figure her out like a puzzle, but simply there, grounded, listening, not expecting something, disarms. Now she wants to let you in, because she sees that you're not trying to fix her, decode her, or get something from her. You're just with her. That's rare. It's why some guys can sit in silence and still create emotional intimacy, while others talk non-stop and get nowhere. Because it's not about the words. It's about your presence. Let's paint a picture. You're on a date. She's talking, but her energy's guarded. Most men start probing. What's wrong? Are you mad at me? You can tell me anything, I promise. That energy. It doesn't open doors. It slams them. Now contrast that with a man who stays calm, curious, but doesn't chase answers. He lets the silence breathe. He says, I'm here when you're ready. And then he keeps being himself, relaxed, composed, not trying to manage her emotions. That kind of steadiness melts walls. Why? Because it signals to her body. This man doesn't need my story to validate our connection. And when she senses that, she gives you what most men try so hard to take. Her truth, her softness, her depth. Now this isn't just about dating, it's about masculine energy at its core. The masculine holds the frame, the feminine moves within it. And when your frame is so grounded that it makes her feel emotionally free, you don't need to earn her vulnerability. She offers it. One of the best Stoic lessons on this comes from Seneca. Silence is a lesson learned through life's many sufferings. And in this case, silence doesn't mean distance. It means respect. It means patience. It means knowing that someone's inner world is sacred and no man has the right to force it open. That's why the men who get all of her emotionally and intimately are often the ones who never demanded it. They just created space. And she filled it. So if you've ever tried too hard to make her open up and watched her drift further away, drop this in the comments. I hold space. I don't chase stories. Because when you stop trying to unlock her, she realizes she's not being analyzed, she's being seen. And when a woman feels seen without being pushed, that's when she truly shows up. Not because you asked her to, but because for once she didn't have to guard herself. That's the door most men never get through, because they're too busy knocking. That's it. 10 truths no one teaches men. But every man needs to know. You don't attract her by chasing, you don't win her with perfect words, and you definitely don't earn her respect by making her the mission. You attract when you're calm, you're grounded. You're so focused on building yourself that her curiosity turns into desire. Because here's the truth. When you stop trying to impress her, she starts wondering why. And that's the shift most men never make. If this video hit something real for you, don't just click away and forget it. Subscribe to this channel, not for more tips, but for a mindset shift that sticks. And if you're ready to go deeper, if you want to stop watching and start walking this path for real, join the Stoic Brotherhood. It's where we train the men who lead themselves first. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you tomorrow, same mission, sharper focus. Until then, stay grounded, stay dangerous.